Welcome, lovely one, to the Meant for More podcast. My name's Lisa Clifford, and I am building the world's most empowering Meant for More movement, leading millions of heart-led purpose seekers from feeling insignificant to invincible. So I truly hope you enjoy this next episode. Hello, lovely ones, and have I got a treat for you today? We've got two for the price of one. We have, I can't deny, two of my closest friends. They're probably wondering who are the others, with us today, and they are the most incredible human beings. They're amazing at what they do, but they're amazing in who they are. And we are talking about who I call Basmina, Barry and Marina Collins. And today we're having a conversation about when we've known or had that stirring feeling, that ache, that we know we are meant for more. Barry and Marina have rebranded, I don't know if it's a rebrand, but they've got this amazing brand, Kick Ash Firewalks. And it's a family business. They grew their own. Barry and Marina run their own charity Firewalks, plus other things, with their daughter and their granddaughter. Now, you might be imagining somebody who's about 7 managing the fire. I think Sophie's 19?
Yeah, no, almost.
19. Almost 19. So how clever is that? I'll just grow my own. Welcome, Barry and Marina. Thank you so much for sharing this space with us all today. And let's kick off with the question. Is there a moment that you feel that you can share where you've had... I really want the moments that you feel you can't share, but where you have... where you have felt you are meant for more?
I think I've had several of those moments throughout my life.
Yeah.
I used to be in retail, and then, I hated it so much, but I knew that there was something else out there. So I studied child psychology because I wanted to help kids who'd been through trauma. And then I left that to go and work in a nursery, thinking that will be a step into the right direction. And then went on to run my own childminding business, and while I was doing that, I knew then it wasn't quite right, and that there was something else that I was looking for, and then again had another meant for more moment then.
So just for a second, Marina, what does the feeling feel like if somebody was to think, oh, am I having the meant for more feeling, which I'm pretty sure they'll know what it is for themselves. But for you, what was the feeling that where you were at, either you'd outgrown or no longer served who you wanted to be? What was the feeling like?
I was getting stressed, I was getting anxious. When I was in retail, I was getting depressed.
Wow.
And I knew that there was more to life than this. And then when I left the child minding, thanks to you, it was thanks to you. It's like you gave me that permission to let go, because I knew that I was getting to a stage where it wasn't fair on the kids. I wasn't enjoying it, and so I just knew that there was something else, and it just, again, for me, like my mental health would dip. I would go into a place of stress and anxiety.
And you work with you specialise in helping people with stress and anxiety, which I think is amazing, because you're walking your talk. It's something that you are, you've learnt your techniques through because of a lived experience.
Yeah.
We'll come more on to that, Marina, because I think that's the bit that I love about people that I work with and specialists, who they've learned something and they walk their talk, they apply it to themselves, they live and breathe it, which I know you do. And I know that you get the most incredible results for people. So we'll come back to that. And I can see Father Christmas For those that are listening rather than watching on YouTube, Barry has, what's the word? Nurtured the most amazing white crafted beard. And the focus on the lenses is a little bit fuzzy at the moment. So there's the appearance of Father Christmas next to. And for those that have not been told, Father Christmas is real. So for you, Barry, what was your meant for more moment or moments?
Well, the two that were kind of connected was again, a unfulfilling career in retail, which. Around 2004, I was attending a yet another training seminar, and it was kind of one of these, right, everybody has to go along and redo the course so that we can say you've had this year's refresher. And so I turned up and went through it just, as a tick box exercise to go, yeah, I've done the refresher this year. But the guy who had turned up to deliver the training was a new guy, an external trainer they'd brought in, and he was talking about stuff and ways of engaging with people, and this was all around the focus of increasing sales and sales performance. But it turned out throughout the course of the day, I kind of quizzed him a bit more about what it was we were actually doing, because this was new. 14 years of doing this, I'd never heard any of the stuff that he was talking about. So it transpired what he was actually teaching us was very basic NLP techniques, Neuro-Linguistic Programming. And so that for me, that kind of renewed my excitement and energy about what I was doing, albeit still in sales. And over the next 4 years, I kind of did my own course of study into the field of NLP, Neuro-Linguistic Programming. And by the end of sort of 2008, I realised that it's not one of those things you can learn by reading a book or listening to an audio track. You need to do it. And so the first one was going through that training, but the kind of the catalyst was when I then went and did my practitioner training with Dr. Richard Bandler, and went through the 7-day practitioner training, where it's not so much taught as installed by Dr. Bandler. And so that for me, when I came away from that, I was like, oh wow, this isn't just about sales. There's so much more that I can use this for, and that was when I started to help people with pretty much anything. Oh, you've got a problem? Great, let's give it a shot. Let's see what happens.
It's sorry to interrupt you, but it's funny because I did this same train, not the same time as you, but it is embodied, isn't it? They teach the unconscious mind first, then you consciously, but you do go around looking for people to fix. And it's scary how many people you find that we think need fixing, need a little tweak here and there, because that his techniques are so simple, but they're simple when you know them. And he talks about stop getting in a lift and looking to fix the person stood next to you. Sorry to interrupt. Carry on.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. So it was just I'd gone because I was fascinated by what I'd learnt from the books, but wanted to see it in action, wanted to feel it. And so I took what I'd learnt over those 7 days and started implementing it within the sales environment, but also outside of the sales environment. And I started to help people with anxiety, with phobias, with smoking, with weight loss, with all the manner of things that people said, oh, do you think it could work for that? And I was like, I don't know, let's find out. And so that was how I approached it. Let's see what works and have some fun along the way. And yeah, that was kind of the second moment when I realised that what I'd learned was more than just about putting the cash into someone's till. It enabled me to make change in people's lives.
And then both of you what your uniqueness is that you are a firewalking couple, but a firewalking event couple. You run Firewalks for charities and do amazing work in helping charities raise much needed money these days. What do you think that being a couple brings, other than you I know you have a shortcut, but what do you think you bring as a couple to firewalking or to your events that other people would not really be able to reach in the same way you two do?
And, well, we've been together, what, 30 something years, 32 years. So we know each other, you know, so like I'll know his next move and he'll know my next move. You know, so when we're working together, we just get into a flow. You know, it's the same with everything that we do, but especially when, because we've always worked together. That's how we met, we worked together. You know, and there was a period where we worked for different companies but doing the same thing. So we'd travel to work together in the same place. So we've always worked together. So we just get each other, understand each other, and we just have this flow of what's right, and you know what he does and what I do, and yeah, we just bring it together to make it look easy, I think, and sometimes it just feels easy. It's like there is no effort in what we do.
I think also that, you know, because there's the two of us, and not necessarily in the obvious roles, but it means we can bring sort of a masculine and a feminine energy to what we do. And sometimes, you know, it's me bringing the feminine and Marina bringing the masculine, and sometimes the other way around. I think it just depends on who's in the room, what they've brought to the event. But it means that we've got that flexibility, you know, at both ends of the spectrum, that we can both step into those roles comfortably, because we're with each other, you know, when we're presenting.
What's the value of having masculine and feminine to a room? What does that bring to the audience?
Well, I
Or
think
to the
you can connect
participant?
with more people then,
Yeah.
you know, because there'll be people who respond to different types of energy, and some people might respond to very masculine energy, but not from a man, and there might be some people who respond to very feminine energy, but not from a woman. So, you know, having the flexibility within the two of us, we're kind of covering, I'm sure we're not covering all bases, but we're probably covering more than, you know, if I got up on my own, or if Marina stood up on her own. You know, when we're working together, we're ticking more boxes and reaching more people, and hopefully changing more lives.
And both of you have naturally were drawn to the transformation path of, funnily enough, that's the name of your business, isn't it? Transformations, Marina. The path of helping people transform their lives. And what do you think, and I know this might be hypothetical, or there might be even some experience in it for you, what do you think would have been the cost had you not followed that calling to step away from what you'd always, not what you'd always done, but what you'd always known necessarily, like the retail, stepping away from that, and you know, learning child psychology, and then all the training that you went to do to be a childminder, and then to all the modalities that you use, Marina, as well. Now, what do you think the cost would have been to you, your soul, had you stayed safe and not followed that calling?
Oh wow, I definitely would be in a very different place from what I'm in now. You know, before Barry and I got together, I was already on a slippery slope of depression, not anything else. You know, so I think if I'd been stuck in retail, I think I would be quite a grumpy person.
Right, can I just ask you a question linked to what you've just said? Do you think when we're not on our path that the sense or the actual condition of depression is a symptom of not being on the right path?
Yeah, I do. I wouldn't have said that previously. You know, when you were going through that kind of thing, I wouldn't even have thought that way. You know, I wouldn't have even thought in the ways of energy, of, you know, being on the right path. I would have just thought that this is my life. I'm just meant to be a depressed person. You know, being on a journey was not something that was in my vocabulary back then. So yeah, it would have been just stuck in a rut.
And Barry, for you, what do you think the cost is?
Well, I was very fortunate. I was in my last 3 or 4 years within management and the corporate world. I was becoming increasingly unfulfilled. I knew that I hated what I was doing, but fear kept me in there. It was the fear of, what if it doesn't work out? What if I leave and it doesn't work out? And that's connected to all the commitments and responsibilities that go with adult life. Cars and houses, and all the stuff that you need to take care of, and that a regular job makes it easy to do. And then in the early part of 2013, I was made redundant from the role that I was in. They wouldn't quite let me volunteer, but they didn't fight too hard against me making myself the ideal candidate to be made redundant. So I was made redundant, and that provided me the space to kind of step into what I wanted to do without the fear. Or I suppose there was still a bit of trepidation, but being able to step in. And I know that the freedom that I felt and the joy that I experienced through turning my back on that corporate world and throwing myself into something that I loved doing, absolutely, was the right thing to do. And I think if you're in that position where you're not feeling fulfilled, where you don't wake up every morning looking forward to the day and doing what it is that you want to do, and we're both self-employed, and so we understand that a lot of the time, 80% of the things you do are not actually the thing you love, but it facilitates doing the thing that you love for the other 20% of the time. And that makes it, a joy even to do that 80%. But if you're getting up every day and doing something that there isn't light at the end of the tunnel, it's not because it allows you to do the things that you love, that's a sign, as far as I'm concerned. That's a sign.
What do you think the consequences are of not following that sign? Because, this show is the Meant for More show, and it's really a calling out to people who might have, at this point, might just have like a tiny little inkling that they're meant to be doing more, or they're in the comfort zone, or they might even have a great big bell ringing next to them. And what do you think the consequence of not following? I mean, I know you had no choice because you were being, you'd placed yourself in a good position to be made redundant, so you almost outed yourself to follow it. But what do you think would have been a consequence had you just thought, I'm going to go and find another job just like this? Because I think often we can do that, can't we? Just, know that we are ready for something else, but the uncertainty of it can be a bit overwhelming. So then we just replace one job with another, and think that that'll fix that feeling. But if we don't follow the calling, what do you think? Regret, yeah.
Soul destroying regret.
Yeah.
Looking back, many years from now, and wondering, what if?
Yeah.
What if I had taken that step? What if I had followed my dreams? What would life have looked like? How would it have been different? How much more? Rather than carrying that millstone around your neck for decades, and makes me shake just thinking about it.
I know. I remember when we were probably just listening to your dates. It was 2004 that I left my corporate world, and I was doing sales in hospitality for hotel groups. And I didn't dislike it, but I knew if I didn't do something different, then I, what version of me would be, walking the streets of London, going to see clients in the future if I didn't do something. But I also knew that I was meant for more. But it did seem very, very daunting, that I was about to step into a world of what was completely unknown. I mean, you two will have been part of a team. You know, in retail, it's a big team. You all know each other. You all go out together. It's like a family, isn't it? And I was part of a big team. And I thought I would really miss the team, being part of a team, because I was always the last to bed on a conference dinner night out. I was the first up in the morning. I had to be around everybody all of the time. I thought that'd be the bit that would that I would miss the most. But actually, I loved the liberation of, as well as the fear that goes with it, and the fear just keeps you conscientious, I think. But I love the liberation of doing what I like, when I like, trying things out, not being afraid to fail, because there's no option. We do fail, don't we?
Oh yeah.
Avoiding failure is just going to keep us in our bedroom day and night. But I remember that feeling of wondering what the unknown was, wanting to make the unknown known. But like you say, that feeling of regret is a heavier feeling to carry than the one of going for it. So tell me a bit about, I mean, I know, but I want the world to know. Tell me a bit about Kickash. What's your mission with Kickash Firewalks? What do you hope that you will, I'm going to say achieve, but achieve feels selfish, and I don't mean it that way, nor do you work that way. But what do you hope you'll, what's the word?
Deliver.
Deliver. That's it.
So when we started doing this 10 years ago, and we started in the charity firewalk market, in the first year, I was looking back at this, and in the first year we delivered something like 22 events in the first year. And in those days, we used to, whichever charity we were working with, we keep in touch with them and make sure that we found out how much money they'd raised from the event that we'd facilitated for them. And within that first year, when we got to £100,000, we were like, that's it, I don't need to ask anymore. I know we're doing the right thing. I know we're making a difference. And that was 10 years ago. So I don't know how much has been raised in the interim. But what I would hope to deliver is we deliver events for individuals or groups, or indeed large charities who are either self-funded or want to do more for the people they support, but don't have the resources directly to be able to dip into the cash reserves, and so they need to generate that cash somehow. The beauty is that in doing that for them, it also allows us to connect with the people they're supporting, or the families and supporters of the people they're supporting, and deliver for them an experience that's potentially life-changing, and hopefully provides them the opportunity to have a glimpse that maybe in that sense that they're meant for more.
Marina, what's your purpose that runs through it all as well? I know that it's everything Barry's just said, but I also sense that
again, a lot of the charities that we do are things like cancer charities and like Chest, Heart, Stroke Scotland, things like that. And because we've experienced those kind of things, I think when we're working with those charities as well, it gives us that sense of connection with them as well, and we first got into it when we were helping a friend fundraise, so we can see it from their perspective. So knowing what's involved for all these people to raise their sponsors, and we'll say, once you've done it, remember to tell people, sometimes they give you more money, because that's the kind of thing that happened with us. People are like, you really did it, so here's more money. So again, it's that whole, we've experienced it before delivering it, so we know in the audience, what people are going through, what they're thoughts are, what they're, you know, probably how a lot of them are feeling as well. So I think that makes us a bit more connected to them. So again, it's just to help as many people as possible.
I mean, that's a great intention that you fuel through your events, which is this isn't to put food on my table, it's to help, you know, whilst you do need to run it as a business, otherwise it's not sustainable and you can't help more charities. It has to have that essential business element to it, but ultimately knowing that not only when you run a firewalk do the people that are walking over the coals get a transformational experience, that they learn something about themselves that they can never ever unknow, but also there are people way beyond that are benefiting, that get treatment faster or sooner, or the most available, the most up-to-date treatment there is, that you're helping a charity raise the money so that they can help more people. So it's just this lovely 360 degrees of helping people. That's powerful, isn't it?
Yeah. It's like a domino effect, isn't it? You know, so we help them, they're also helping someone else who's helping someone else who's helping someone else.
And just at the end of the night, you know, when we're packing up and people come up to us and they share with you how much it's impact. Sometimes you're stood there at the front of the room and you're looking at the faces, and you can be in mid-session and you just become aware that there's maybe one or two people, you look at them and you think, have I sent them to sleep? They look so bored, or they look like they're ready to get up and walk out, and they're the ones that come up to you at the end of the night and go, oh my, you don't believe how what you said resonated with me, or how it's impacted me, or it was just so powerful. And it's like, really? Wow, okay, great. It's just a little reminder that even though it's not always apparent, you're on the right path. And
there's no doubt for them showing up. There is so much on their shoulders. They've told their friends know. So I was just thinking about their processing face. Most of us haven't mastered a lovely freeze frame face as we're processing. But when you think about those amazing, courageous participants that are showing up, they've told the world that it's all over Facebook, it's all over TikTok, social media. I'm doing this firewalk, and they've got people sponsoring them. So then they've got this responsibility. I've got no choice but to walk over the coals. So they're handling this, I guess, this lack of... they are not giving themselves permission to step out. So it's a bit of a force that they're having to show up with. And the spectators watching. So it's double the courage that they need. Plus, with every fibre of their being, they're trying to hang on to every word that you're saying, whilst their brain, their mind, their body is flooded with fear because they've been told all their life fire burns.
Yeah.
And here we are saying you're going to walk on it, and you're going to be on it for 3 to 6 seconds or longer, and you're maybe going to go over more than once. They're like, oh God, I just wanted to raise money for a good cause. And so, we're often faced with faces that look like they want to punch us in the face. But really their faces are like, I hope I don't let anybody down. And then there's the taking in of the information they need to take in from you. So it's, my hat is well off and saluted to anybody that shows up. I'm often having people at my firewalk say, no, I haven't got any confidence. And I think you have shown up to a firewalk. That is incredible. And we don't give ourselves enough credit, do we?
I love my role in it as well, because I always stand at the end of the fire. So when they've walked off, I give them a hug, I celebrate with them.
Yeah.
Some people are, mainly guys, are a bit kind of like, okay, a little high five or something. But there are some guys that are just, there was one guy, how tall was he?
Oh, it must have been 8 feet.
It must be 8 feet. It must have been 8 feet. he walked over, he picked me up, gave me a big squish, and then dropped me. I didn't fall, but it's moments like that that I love. You know, when they've walked over the fire and I'm celebrating with them, and I can see the joy and I can feel the joy when they're given that hug. You know, I absolutely love those moments.
For those that can't, that are listening rather than watching, Marina is the little doll inside the Russian dolls. She's
Yes,
the
tiny one.
she is 5'1".
5'2".
Oh, knocked an inch off.
Gee.
It's me that's 5'1". It was one of us. So I'm going to try and ask this question in a non-leading way. I'm not sure if I'll master it. Who is there a gender that most hides how they feel, and therefore when they get off the coals at the other end, have it an even more celebratory experience?
Guys,
I still think it sounds leading, but it's what I've got.
I find guys, a lot of the guys, oh, actually, no, I don't know, there are some women that are kind of like, yeah, don't want to hug and they're not fussed about anything. I don't know if there is actually one more than the other.
No, I don't think. I think there's a type of person, and you can see them at the start of the night. So they're the ones that when they come in, they're sat at the back, and you know, if you don't hear it out loud, you can read it on their faces, and there's inside they're saying something like, "Oh my gosh, how did Lisa talk me into this? What was I thinking? How can I sneak out and not come back and hope that nobody notices?" And they're the ones that are going to get the most from it, male or female, or you know, however they identify. It's the ones that are feeling the most fear. And at the end of the night, our hope is, or certainly for me, the hope is that as they step off, they look back and they go, "Do you know what? I didn't think that was possible, or I didn't think it was possible for me, but I was wrong. What else have I been wrong about in life? What else did I not think I was young enough, old enough, smart enough, pretty enough?" Whatever story they've been telling themselves, what if in that moment they realise that it's just a story? And when they do, they're the ones who really celebrate.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think, don't you think the fire is a reflection of how we are with a lot of scary goals? So that part of us that's in our head, if you imagine the model of how we show up for a firewalk, which I'm doing it, I'm not doing it. Can I run? Will anybody notice? I think we do that with some of our big goals, the goals that really matter to us, that we can't not go for. But I think we go through that same thing of, I'm doing it, I'm not doing it, I'm doing it, I'm not doing it. I think it's, what other reflections do you think there is that for people when they are firewalking that is modelled in their everyday life?
I can give you a great example. We're both firm believers that the way you do one thing is the way you do everything. And that shows up particularly where you are in a stressful or demanding environment or situation where typically you will go back to the behaviours that you rely on, the ones that have served you in the past. And the great example I had was a woman who came, I think 30 or 40 people in the room, and I'd been demonstrating all night, you know, how to walk, you know, you walk with this sort of pace, and this is how to do it. And so she was the first person up. She gets up and strolls gently and slowly across the coals until she got about halfway across, and then had to step off to the side. And of course I've got 39 other people now that I have to get them across whilst I'm still thinking about her. So I get them over, and everybody's been over, right, okay, and I go and have a word with her, and I say, you know, what happened? Well, I don't know, you know, I was just, you know, I was doing what you said, and I said, but did you know? And in that moment I saw the lights go on, and she says, "Oh my God, I always do this." And I said, "Oh, what's that?" She says, I get professionals in to help me with my business, and they tell me, they coach me, and they tell me what to do and what not to do, and they give me the advice and tell me, this is the results you're going to get, and then I don't follow their suggestions or instructions, and then I wonder why I don't get the results they said I was going to get. So she then went back and did the firewalk a second time, and she got the experience she wanted because she did it the way she'd been instructed. But for her, it was a huge light bulb moment of, do you know what? If I get professionals in to tell me how to do something, I should follow their instructions, and then I'll get the results that they promise.
And she perhaps wouldn't have had that learning without that reflection, or even without that question. And it had to come from her rather than somebody say to her, you don't listen to us. Yes. You are this or you that. It's what's your mission for 2025? There's one thing knowing it in your heart, and then there's another one in being able to articulate it with words, isn't it?
I'm going to say for me it's slightly selfish. I want to experience the joy of doing what I do in the same way that I experienced it 10 years ago.
Oh, which was how? Tell me what that was like.
So, going out and talking to different people in different charities and running these events, and just every moment was filled with the passion and joy of moving forward, delivering these experiences to people, touching their lives, inviting them to have potentially a life-changing experience. And just every moment of that was joyful. Every moment of that was just an absolute pleasure. And so I hope that, this coming year, 2025, I feel as much joy as I did 10 years ago in delivering that.
And Marina's thinking, I've got to top that.
Yeah, I
do you want Barry to feel... So is your mission for 2025, Marina, for Barry to feel joy?
Yes, that's exactly what it is. It's exactly what it is.
We're in it together.
We're in it together. Behind every good man, there's an even better woman.
Exactly. And behind her is a golden retriever.
Or a friend husband.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, what would you've got your therapy business as well. What's your mission for 2025? If 2025, you could wave a wand over it, what would you wish for it?
Keep doing what I'm doing, but I was going to say with more purpose, but just helping more and more people. Obviously on the therapy side of it as well, but also with the firewalk side. All these ideas of not just doing charity firewalks, but doing like one-day events, and just to make it the way it was at the beginning, when it was a lot of fun, and help people transform, change their lives.
I mean, what I'm hearing is it's a bit like, as you're saying, that you want it to be the way it was 10 years ago, and it feels like, the image I have is the glass walk. If you feel like, oh, that's a bit, you just adjust where your foot is, and I feel like you've made an adjustment with your feet so that you can realign with what makes your heart sing. And sometimes it doesn't have to be a massive adjustment, does it? Sometimes it can be I just need to change my position slightly so I can reconnect with what's right for me, and only you know it. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, it's not taking a step back and going, right, let's do exactly what we did 10 years ago. It's not. We're different people. And so that because
taking a step back would be getting off the glass walk and going back to the beginning, whereas this is just do you how does this relate to other people though in life, where we're on a path that we need to adjust on? Do you notice the different ways that people handle their paths that they're on? They're meant for more movement path of sometimes people might think that they've got to change everything, or whereas they can just make a small adjustment that can make the biggest difference. Do you see that with people?
Yes.
Yeah. I often liken it to, the ship setting sail from port, and if it makes a 1 degree shift as it sets off, by the time it's 100 miles from port, it's on a completely different course. And so those small changes can have huge impact. And so it doesn't mean that you have to pack your bags and go and become a goat herder in the Himalayas. Just maybe switching your focus and maybe giving a little bit more time to the thing that is your passion, whilst you're still doing the day job, if that indeed is what it is. But just giving a little bit more focus to the thing that brings you joy, that fills your heart. And it's just those small shifts sometimes can be the catalyst for a much bigger change further down the road.
I had somebody on a Firewalk last week who said, you were there, and she said, I thought, and I'd heard her, she's a friend of mine, so I know that it'd been her mind of, I need to retire and then I can be happy. And, we could all say to people, well, no, you don't need to wait till, we say wait till somebody's left school, or wait till the kids have left home, or wait till the mortgage is paid off, or whatever the wait tills are. And she had this light bulb moment of, because waiting to retire is quite a bit, well, it's a way away, but it's also quite a big milestone to get to before you can be happy. And what she got to through the exercises was actually the happiness I can start creating right now rather than waiting till. And so, Marina, do you find that with your clients, that some of the adjustments or the healings and the therapies you give them, they're able to bring forward the joy or the happiness or the fulfillment sooner than they expected?
Yes. So it just reminded me of the first time when I did like a phobia of snakes for someone, and she was like, oh, so how long is this going to take? Is it going to take 20 sessions? And in my head I'm thinking, I hope not, I've got a snake waiting to meet you.
Because you do that, don't you, with your therapy? You give them a real life measure of their success.
If I can, I will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I know it's easier with chocolate, but you had a snake ready.
Yeah, and so by the end of what was a 40-minute, an hour session, she was sitting, and she was just looking at it, and then she allowed it a bit closer, and eventually she's holding it in her hand. And it is, and again, but even just like, well, no, it can stay outside. So that's just that small adjustment. I'm not ready to make another one yet. Okay, you now bring it inside, but it's still in its tank. Okay, that's fine. I'll look down at it now. Yeah, that's each little step, but still within the space of that hour. By the end of it, she was holding it. And a lot of my clients are like that. It's just like they think that it's going to take a long time to get to where they want to be, but with a lot of the stuff that I do, sometimes it's by the end of that session, or by the end of the next session, or by the end of the next session, that it's kind of like, right, oh, I'm there now. I didn't realise I can change so quickly. But each week, or each session has been just a little step closer, and a little step closer.
And that's the thing, isn't it, about goals and life is nobody ate an elephant one bite. But I've never met anybody that's ate an elephant, but that's to one side. That we
of our call. Sorry, Lisa. It reminded me of our very first call, when I had decided that childminding was no longer for me, and I wanted to focus on my therapy. And you said to me, right, okay, let's set a date, when you want to achieve this by, and I was like, right, okay. And then I just went out and did it, and I did it way before the goal that we had agreed on, because it was just like, my mindset's done now. I want to do it, and I don't want to just do it slowly. I'm ready to do it now, rather than just dragging it on a bit.
Is that it's really interesting what the mind does or what the soul does when it knows that something that it's aiming for something, it thinks it shows up in a different way, doesn't it? You must see this all the time when people make a decision or make a commitment or have an intention. There's a different way that the mind shows up with a drive, a motivation, an energy that clears the blocks, that has a pace that it wouldn't have without the commitment. Have you seen that?
Yes, I mean the happiness example. You know, I'll be happy when I retire. I'll be happy when, you know, is the thing that we hear, and so, you know, people come to these events that we do, or they, you know, they go through sessions with Marina, and they're unhappy. You know, some to great degrees and some to lesser degrees, but in many instances they're looking for something. They know that there's something missing. They know that they're meant for more, and they're not sure what it looks like or what it feels like or what it tastes like, but they know right now they haven't got it. And so they approach life with this: I'll be happy when, you know, when I get the right job, or, you know, when I'm in the right relationship, or I've got the right amount of money in the bank, or the right car, or, you know, all those things. And certainly my hope, and, you know, I think through Marina's therapy sessions as well, as an element of, if you approach it with the happy when, you know, you're hanging your happiness on it, and if you don't achieve it, you know, your happiness will never come. But if you can approach it with, you know, I'll be happy and, you know, happy and have the right job, or the right car, or the money in the bank, or the right house, or I'll be happy and, then best case scenario, you know, you're happy and you've got all this great stuff, but worst case scenario, you're just happy, which is a bad place to be setting out from, regardless of which path you're following.
Absolutely. In closing, then, do you have either a tip of the moment? When I say tip of the moment, like the most common thing. We'll start with you, Marina. The most common thing you find yourself suggesting to people that seems to be present now, or you can think about it, or the best advice that served you consistently over life?
I don't know about best advice served me consistently. I'd have to think on that one. I think, though, more and more as, you know, I've gone on this journey of self-development and helping others, is actually trust your gut. We talk about having gut instinct, or, you know, just like that. A lot of the time it's like, oh, I want to do that, but I'm just going to go with that. But it's like, trust your gut. It's giving you that message for a reason, and just, you know, trust it, go with it. Like, I've started 2 new businesses, each with Barry's support, you know. But it's like, no, my gut says that I need to do this. So it's just, trust your gut.
Trust your gut. Love that. Trust your gut. And Barry?
I think, you know, it's making the space, you know, to fulfill your goals. You know, and for me that was, you know, stepping away from retail and management was, you know, a real big one. It was to fulfill my dreams, to follow my heart. I had to make the space for that to happen, and it was scary. But, you know, if you follow your intuition, if you follow your gut, and make the space for it,
And that's so key, isn't it? Making the space for it, because living the same life we're living without creating the space isn't going to create a new life. No. And sometimes creating the space means sacrificing some things. You know, like an athlete would do if they're wanting to get their personal best in a competition. They're going to have to sacrifice drinking on a Tuesday night, for example. Doesn't mean they can't ever drink, but it's like you say, making the space so that you can have this amazing experience, this fulfilling experience, this amazing goal that you haven't currently got is vital. I love that. Trusting your gut and making space. Oh, thank you so much, Basmina.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I will put a link to your website and And I wish you so much success in helping all of those amazing charities, all those amazing people that get to experience your firewalks, your healings, your motivation. I wish you so much success. Lots of love.
Thank you. Mwah.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode. If you would like to be involved in the Meant for More movement, then please drop me a line at lisa@lisaclifford.co.uk. Whether that's you're interested in being on the podcast, taking part in any of the trainings, or would just love to know how you can help empower others, then let's have a conversation. Thank you for listening, and we'll connect again very soon.